Let's talk college football. Speaking of quarterbacks, this was a massive game. Oregon knocked off Ohio State 32-31, top three showdown. My biggest takeaway from this game was that these two teams will probably meet again on a neutral field, and Ohio State will probably win.
I agree.
I disagree with that.
Because you're a Penn State fan. Everything that comes out of your mouth is Ohio State bash, and it's been like that since day one of championship rings.
Really?
Listen, I am a college football observer. I don't have a favorite team. Jalen knows this. I drug Jalen nuts because I rooted for Michigan the last few years because I'm a big Jim Harbaugh guy. I will say this. Dylan Gabriel impressed me on Saturday night with his ability to stand in the pocket and make big throws. I didn't know he had that in him. That was one of the best college football games I've seen outside of Georgia and Alabama, probably in the last half decade. I just think Ohio State, to me, they made some wonders early in the game, and Oregon took advantage of them, especially that onside kick or what. I don't even know if it was intentional, that kick that Oregon did where it went right off the Ohio State lineman.
The way they set that up, I think it was. But Jalen, I'm not actually saying that because I'm a Penn State fan. I just felt like the way Oregon played, hitting those explosive plays when they needed to, I don't know if you can trust Ohio State's defense in those big moments. Like,
it came down to one call, and you know this. It came down to that 12th man on the field call. Is that what it was? 12th man on the field?
Yeah, it was genius by Oregon, by the way. That was also intentional, which, I mean, who would have thought? I wouldn't have thought about that in the situation.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, the controversial play was the offensive pass interference on Jeremiah Smith, which I admit could have gone either way.
This is how I've always felt about offensive pass interference as an offensive guy. I don't like offensive pass interference because I think receivers, unless you blatantly do this action where you're physically pushing the DB away, it's very hard for me to intentionally say the receiver is intentionally pushing because the receiver is always trying to get separation. So to me, unless you're blocking downfield or again, you're physically doing a shove. I thought it was a good sell by Oregon. I agree with Josh. It could have gone either way. I will admit, in the moment when I saw the flag live, I did think it was a good call in the moment.
It was just a tough pill to swallow. Props to Oregon, though. I give them all the credit in the world. I knew it was going to be a dogfight. I knew it was going to come down to the final 2 minutes, minute and a half, whatever. I would hope to play them again. Honestly, I really want that. I want that taste of revenge. I want to go at it again. And I know there's a strong possibility. And if that happens, then I'll get my popcorn ready, just like I did Saturday night. No, I'll scream, I'll yell, I'll throw my tribe hat because I was wearing my tribe hat because earlier in the day. And I'll just be an Ohio State football fan, and it'll be fun to watch. And I'm excited.
I do agree with Josh, though, that for whatever reason, ever since Ryan Day has taken over Ohio State in these big games, whether it's Michigan or, some of the games even against Penn State or the Georgia game in the national championship with C.J. Stroud, the defense has not shown up, and they've been unable to run the ball and win the line of scrimmage. They bring over Chip Kelly, obviously former head coach, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Oregon, UCLA, who, to me, I am shocked that Chip Kelly is going less tempo, running the ball more under center. Really seems like to change that philosophy. I just think, to me, the thing that will hold Ohio State back, though, I don't even think it's their defense. I watched that whole game, and I know he had the blunder at the end of the game, but I did not come away impressed by Will Howard.
I didn't either. If you want my honest opinion, I think he's average. If you really look at it, yeah, he made that one mistake, and I was aggravated about it for days because Brandon knows I sleep on sports losses. He knows this. I've done it since I've been 13, 14 years old. I still do it. So yeah, I blamed a lot of it on Will Howard just because he was the first guy. But if you really go back, a lot of it was Will Howard. He didn't look great. He didn't look accurate. He just looked shaky. He didn't look confident. There was no confidence. Now Oregon had all the confidence in the world. They had the home field. They came out swinging. They had it all. But I'm gonna drop a bomb here, and I want to know how you guys feel about it. If Ohio State doesn't win a natty, Ryan Day is gone.
Josh, I'll let you answer that, but for me, it depends on do they make the Final Four. I think he'd be safe if they make the Final Four. If not, then yeah, I think he'd probably be gone.
I'll even take it a step further, Jalen. If he loses to Michigan for a third straight year, I think Ryan Day is gone.
I don't think he will.
Shot.
I think Ohio State is going to beat the hell out of Michigan this year. I don't
Yeah,
even think it's going to be close.
There's no chance there's no shot in anywhere that Michigan wins. And if they do win, you won't see me for a couple months. We'll just say that. I'm going on one of those dark room retreats.
See, and I've always told both of you this, and, Josh, I think you went through this a couple of times with James Franklin at Penn State. I don't get the idea of college football coaches. They may lose 1 or 2 games maximum a year. I mean, what's Ryan Day's record at Ohio State? 90%. And it's like if they lose 1 game, you guys want them thrown out the door.
Because college football, the losses, the 2 losses mean something. In the NFL, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but not anymore because of the 12-team playoff. That's the other thing about this game.
No, the 12-team playoff, I think, adds more emphasis onto these games.
See, I don't think it does, because could you imagine the reaction out of Columbus if they lost this game in the 4-team playoff era? It's panic mode. No, it's like, who cares? We know we'll see him again.
That's exactly – Brendan, you just dumbed my reaction down exactly. I was with a group of my buddies. We were sitting in my basement, and everyone's all angry. Oh, we lost. I'm like, 12-man playoff. Who gives a crap? Who cares? We'll be there. There ain't no way we're losing to the rest of the schedule. There's no shot.
Yeah, I don't think, as much as I want to say Penn State can beat Ohio State, no.
The way Drew Adler played in Napa Valley, I give Penn State a little chance. I'm not going to say that's 0.
James Franklin has shown a history that he cannot beat Michigan or Ohio State. But we'll see. Penn State probably will still get into the playoff. But nonetheless, the reason I'm saying that if Ohio State loses to Michigan for a third straight time, which it's unlikely to happen, I agree with you, Jalen. But I'm just saying, like, that rivalry is so huge. You can't justify bringing Ryan Day back for another season if that were to happen.
Absolutely not. I agree with you. I thought he should have been gone last year. I thought he should have been gone the first year he lost. I've never been a Coach Day guy. I've been to Ohio State games, and I've had a couple interactions, a couple fist bumps with Coach Day. That's not my coach, all right? My coach is Urban Meyer, and it always will be.
All right, guys, let's talk about number 7, Alabama, who almost lost to South Carolina this week, taking on number 11, Tennessee, who also almost suffered another loss. And then number 5, Georgia, battles number 1, Texas. These are 2 huge SEC contests. Maybe the only one not under pressure to win this game is Texas, because they're the only undefeated team, I think, outside of Oregon in the whole country.
Yes. ESPN College Game Day is going to be in Austin, Texas for this top 5 showdown between Georgia and Texas. And just a little caveat here. Do you remember who Alabama played the week after hosting Georgia? Do you remember?
Vanderbilt.
Yes. Who does Texas play the week after hosting Georgia?
Vanderbilt.
That's right.
Is that in Vanderbilt again for Texas?
Yep.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
Just think about that for a second. I just want to plant that little seed.
Good for college football. That is great scheduling on them. Listen, I'll take the Georgia Texas angle first. I've told Josh this since day one this year, even after they beat up on Clemson in the second half of game one. There's something missing from Georgia this year, in my opinion, offensively. They cannot create the explosive plays. I'm not a big Carson Beck guy myself. I think Alabama kind of let their foot off the gas in the second half, which is what we've seen in games, even against South Carolina. Maybe Bama starts their sort of not deterioration, but maybe they're just not as dominant as we thought they were going into that Georgia game. But and I've told Josh this, Jalen, from day one this year, it doesn't matter if it's Quinn Ewers or Arch Manning under center for Texas. I think they have the best offensive line in the country. I think they have the best skill position players in the country. This team reminds me of last year's Michigan team. They boat raced Oklahoma in their rivalry game this weekend. The Red River rivalry really wasn't even a close game. I don't know how Texas loses a game. I'm going to put that on the table.
I agree. Listen. I've seen Arch take a couple snaps. I've seen the other QB take a couple snaps. It doesn't matter. You're right. They are good. They are great. They are winning the national. Okay.
They're great. To me, they are undisputably. And again, we can debate Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Bama, whoever, Penn State, throw whoever. To me, it's Texas is on that first tier, and then everybody else is a tier below.
Texas is a great white shark, and we're just all fishes, and they're swarming us right now. That's exactly what it is.
I know we were just talking about Ohio State, Oregon. If we were to get a Texas-Ohio State national championship or a Texas-Oregon national championship, sign me up. I think either of those games would be great.
No, I agree. I think they both would be shootouts, but I think in the end, I think Texas, I know a lot of people want to talk about Shedeur Sanders and what's going on in Colorado. I think Texas may have the best quarterback situation in the country, hands down.
Okay. So I just want to touch on this aspect of the Texas-Georgia game that I don't think anybody's really talking about. I know they just blew out Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. I get it. But by the same token, do you think that we know how heated that rivalry is between Oklahoma and Texas. It's the Red River rivalry for a reason. Do you think having that rivalry game be played the week before Georgia, could that be a bit of a mental distraction coming into this matchup against Georgia?
If that game was in Athens, I would say yes. But I think because this is at home, which home field advantage in most sports is becoming less relevant than ever, except for college football, where you have the most crazy environments out of maybe any sport. NBA gets pretty close because the fans are right there next to you on the court. But these fans, for God forbid, Vanderbilt took the goalpost down and threw them in the river a couple weeks ago. So that's the way I look at it. I will say this. I think Georgia will come out more prepared than they were against Alabama. They know they cannot fall behind against Texas the way they did against Bama. So I think it will be a closer game. But no, I don't think Texas will fall into that trap.
Listen, the reason college football fans are so hot, it's a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, 21-year-old kids. They're all hammered. They've been drinking all day. They're just ready for some smash mouth football. And they're fired up. And I mean fired up. You see what Pat McAfee does to them when college game day starts? It's just they are on. They are on fire. And I think Brandon's right. Home field advantage only matters in college football and possibly basketball. It depends on where you are. Because if you're in Cleveland, like Cavs, we might be hot. But if you go to New York, they're hot all game long. So, yeah, I agree with Brandon.
And to this commenter's point here, yes, all it does take is dumb luck to, any given Saturday night. We know that. But speaking of the other game on this list here, I want to quickly get to Alabama, Tennessee, because this is an important game. Because if Texas does defeat Georgia, which the Bama Tennessee game will happen before that, but if Georgia has 2 losses, Texas has 0. Texas is almost guaranteed, unless they stumble their toe, to go to the SEC championship. You could make an argument here. The loser of this Bama Tennessee game, their college football playoff chances could be over, because I don't know if they're going to make the SEC championship game.
Yeah. I mean, it depends, because if Georgia takes the loss here, like you're suggesting, I mean, we've never seen a 2-loss team get into the college football playoff, but with this new 12-team format, it could very well happen. So
I think it's going to happen. I think you could have a 3-loss team. I mean, seriously, if you, I mean, I'll say this. I think, let's say, for just an example, out of the blue, I don't know, a Big 12 team, Oklahoma State or somebody like that, if they only have 1 loss or something like that, I'd take a 3-loss Georgia team over them.
I mean, we saw that type of thing last year when Florida State got left out in favor of Alabama, which, sorry, Florida State fans, but that was absolutely.
And I thought Georgia was still a top 4 team in the country, by the way.
Which I totally hear your argument on that. In terms of this Alabama-Tennessee game, it's such an interesting game because Alabama these last 2 weeks has not looked like Alabama. Like, they lost to Vanderbilt, and they narrowly defeated South Carolina. If South Carolina didn't make some mental mistakes down the stretch, they win that game.
Bama had a 14-0 lead early, and it's like they thought they had him in the bag. They quit playing midway for the second quarter. All of a sudden, it's a 2-point game at halftime.
It's the same thing with Tennessee, though. Like, that game against Florida should not have gone to overtime.
No.
But, so, that's why I don't want to say I'm a little more interested in the Alabama-Tennessee game because Georgia-Texas is a top 5 matchup. But I think both teams' seasons kind of hinge on who wins between Alabama and Tennessee. I don't think that's too much of a stretch to say.
Who do you think wins this game?
I would say because it's in Knoxville, I would go with Tennessee. We saw what happened last time they played each other in Knoxville, that crazy game. That came down to a game-winning field goal. I think it was like 52-49 Tennessee won. And in terms of Georgia-Texas, I would go with Texas.
Jalen, how about you?
Georgia-Texas, I'm taking Texas, and I'm taking good old Rocky Top to get it done in Knoxville. The loss to Vanderbilt, it's got to do such an emotional, like that's got to just sit in their heads. As anybody knows, a game you're supposed to win, and then you go out, you get sucker punched. They're partying, throwing goalposts in the river. For goodness sake, I mean, it's hard to bounce back from that. So, but again, any given Saturday, as the commenter says, any given Saturday, so we'll just see. We just got great college football. It's stacked. I'm fired up. I'm ready.